Hey, my name is Jason. This is my 1997 Eclipse GST converted to a GSX. So my first delve into cars, my first car was a 92 Chrysler or Dodge Daytona. One day I was on the highway and I got smoked by one of these. And from that moment on, I was like, I need to get one of those. And here it is. And I've been stuck with it ever since. This is before Marketplace on Facebook. So I found it on the Canadian version of Craigslist, which is Kijiji. And way overpaid for it because I didn't know what they were worth. But in the end, I don't really care because I like the car and it's made me a lot of great friends. So the car was completely stock when I got it, other than being lowered. As I said, it was a GST and I kept it like that for about four years. Starting to get into racing a little bit. I bought it as a daily driver. Never intended to race it until some friends of mine basically bullied me into taking it to the track one time. And kind of got hooked on that. Realized front wheel drive is a little bit on the difficult side to hook up at the track. And so started looking up on Google how to convert this one to all-wheel drive. Found some threads on DSM tuners and gathered all the parts and stuff. I actually bought an entire roller shell with the drivetrain minus a motor and took everything from that. And now it's in this car. Not the original stuff anymore because I've broken all of that stuff a long time ago. So first track experience, like I said, was front wheel drive. It was completely stock performance-wise. I think it ran like a 12 in the 8th mile. It was horrendous, and but I just started researching what I could do to get it faster, and one thing leads to another. Okay, now I'm getting a bigger turbo, upgrading cams, ECM link, tried to follow the whole path that others have set out beforehand. And eventually it got to be pretty powerful. I would say 350 horsepower or so as a front wheel drive, and that's where traction started to become a real problem. And then that's where the all-wheel drive journey began. Doing it over and over again, practicing on the tree, practicing staging. You know, you can stage too deep and that will hurt your time. You know, just all these little things, and you ask friends, watch what others are doing. Yeah, I went from cutting like a 2.2 60 foot with the car down to now the car's cut 1.3s. And that's about as fast as the car can go in the 60 foot. And then from there, once you get out of the hole, it's basically just adding power to it. And until a certain point where traction becomes an issue, and the car is at the point now where first gear can be a little sketchy if the conditions aren't right. But for the most part, once you get out of the hole, if you can do a great 60 foot, great 330, and then to the 8th, the rest of it just follows suit. Cars starting to act the way that it really should this year. Last year was a bit of a struggle switching over the fuel tech. I ran a 947 at 146 or 147, and the car felt off after that. I checked things over, checked the plugs, actually changed the plugs, checked the oil, everything seemed fine. Anyways, so I go up to make the next round of eliminations at SSBA Quebec, and the car just feels completely off. So I aborted the run, just cruised down the track, came back to the pits, and I checked the oil, and it was just complete milkshake in there. So my thought is I hurt the head gasket. Knowing I have the trip down here to the shootout in less than 3 weeks, I'm like, I can do a head gasket, no problem. Take the head off, the head gasket's mint, no problem at all. So start digging a little deeper, I find out cylinder number 3 wall is cracked. So now I'm like, I've got about 2 weeks to get this sorted out, and that's going to be a struggle. Machine shops have high lead times, everything like that. So basically the first step, I tore the car down. I had the motor out and pistons, rods, everything out of the car in that same night. Checked over everything. The whole rotating assembly was fine. So at that point, I'm like, I need a new block. I happen to have 2 spare 6-bolt blocks on the shelf. As a typical DSMer, I've been hoarding parts over the years just for the inevitable day. And give a friend of mine who works at a machine shop a buzz and say, hey, look, I'm going to Ohio in 2 weeks. Can you do a brother solid here? So he's like, yeah, if you can drop it at my house. Mind you, this is on the weekend. So he's like, if you can get it here so I can bring it into work on Monday, I'll do my best to get it out for this week. So I drop it off at his house on Sunday. Give him a few days, I don't bug him. Wednesday, Thursday, I'm starting to panic a little bit. And so, hey man, what's up? Any chance of getting it by tomorrow or whatever? And he's like, man, I'm doing my best. I'll try to get it to for Thursday. Thursday goes by, I don't hear nothing, but I don't want to bug him. Friday, I'm like, hey, any chance for Friday? Because we're getting down to a week out from leaving for the shootout here. He's like, I'm gonna have it for you by the end of the day. So perfect. He messages me about 3 p.m. Hey, it's ready. I took off early from work. He's about an hour away from me. Pick the block up, bring it home. That night I had the new main bearings in, had the crank in, everything spec'd out, gapping the new rings. Had them all ready, had them all on the pistons. And Saturday morning, I had the rods and pistons all back in the motor. And Saturday night, the motor was back in the car. Sunday morning, I finished up all the loose ends, did the first start, no problems. I'm like, good, ready to go. And so here we are. The car's literally got 5-10 minutes of idle time on it, and probably about 500 feet down the street and onto my trailer. Take the 12-hour trip out here to Ohio, and I just made the first pass down the track and came back, did an oil change on it. Everything seems good, so now we're gonna turn the power up and really try to compete in 9.5 index. So I've been coming to the DSM shootout for, well, however, I started in 2008, 1 year after I got the car. And in that time, I've met an immense amount of great people. So many friends that I only get to see once a year. I've met a lot of friends that are even closer to home, and now we all end up racing at SSPA Quebec. I learn a lot about these cars from other cars that come here. Like I said, it's a great learning experience, great camaraderie. Everybody loves these cars. Like even on Facebook, where we have some disputes online, but everybody comes here, and we put all that aside, and we just have fun with these cars and don't worry about the day-to-day life stuff. Just come here, hang out, break some stuff. Everybody chips in. People loan you parts. It doesn't really matter. We're all friends. After 5 years of not being here, I'm back. And I'm glad to see that it has grown for even what it was 5 years ago, and I plan to be back every year as long as I have the DSM, and there's no plans to get rid of that. So as far as modifications to the car goes, the exterior looks mostly stock. My goal is to have the car, not to be really a sleeper, but I want it to look somewhat stock and just surprise people with how fast it is. So other than a carbon fiber hood and some drag wheels, and well, now it's got a parachute and a drag wing, kind of gives it away a little bit. I've tried to keep the exterior looking somewhat stock. I'm not all about carbon fiber, stuff like that, other than a few tasteful accents. I think the wing kind of looks good on it. As far as the interior goes, still has a stock dash, stock door panels. It's got a Kirky lightweight drag seat. All the electronics have been removed from the car, and it's now on a Fuel Tech FT550. Put in a 10-point roll cage. trying to make the car safe for the speeds I want to go. So the car is sitting on a set of FD RX-7 wheels with Hoosier slicks on it. And as far as suspension goes, all the control arms, everything are all OEM except for a couple Volk pieces, and the car is sitting on teen coilovers, dropped about 2 inches, and Ingalls camber kits all around. It's been doing good for me. It's on those coilovers for about 15 years now, so they've been holding up great. Maybe someday I'll switch it up to something more drag oriented, but right now it's doing the job. As far as the engine bay goes, about 7 or 8 years ago, I pulled everything out, stripped it down, sanded everything, primed it, repainted the bay, and got rid of everything that was no longer needed. Trying to keep the bay as clean as possible. I did a wire tuck on the original harness years ago, and I'm just trying to make a fast car look good. I said I wanted a 10-second show-worthy car many years ago, and I think I had that, and now I'm just gonna push the time even quicker. So as far as if you're getting into a DSM, I'm gonna do a shameless plug here because I have my YouTube channel, Jason Drew's DSM, and I did a top 10 tips for new DSMers. This is getting on a few years ago now, and that has been my #1 video on my channel of all time. And I think it's helped out a lot of people. I tried to share my experiences going up with this car, tried to sway people away from the mistakes that I made. I think I did the modifications a little bit inverse in some aspects, and now I'm trying, in that video, I tried to push people the correct order, in my opinion, how to do the mods. So I want to thank Turbo Parts Canada for building a great turbo that's performing excellent here. I think this car has got an 8 in it as it sits with a bolt-on turbo. Alpha Injection Clinic helped me out with a great set of injectors that are flowing plenty. And unfortunately, RTM Racing is no longer around with us for the most part, but RTM Racing helped me out a lot in the past, and I still have to give RTM and Ziggy a thanks. He's done a lot for the industry, and I want to thank him for everything he did for us over the years. My name is Jason Drew. You can follow me on YouTube, Jason Drew's DSM. I'm on Instagram. I have all the links are there. I'm on Facebook, all the typical socials. So I try to post up everything about the car that I do, try to post anything that can help others out. And I love lending a hand to others who are building up their DSMs or have questions. Anybody's free to hit me up anytime.